I'm here with Kaushal, my client, who went from mid-level to senior engineer, landed a new six-figure role, and got 50% increase in salary in just 6 months. And we are doing a quick interview to talk about what that journey looked like. So, yeah, Kaushal, what was your situation before you came to the program?
Yeah, good question. When I started, I just did my first interview with the fintech, and my friend used to work there, so I was very excited to interview with them. But it didn't work out. It was very low, not knowing how to interview, what to do. But prepping for that interview, I watched some of Pike's or some of your videos on system design. And I remember that was very interesting. You broke it down into a way where I could understand. It was very practical, and I could connect it back to my like at the time my role. I thought it was nice to interview. I want to do more of that, but at the same time, I don't want to just waste my time trying to figure it out. There's you're clearly pitching or putting forward like a way to mentor people, a community to be a part of, to grow some of these skills, put into practice. So that's kind of what got me started, is the experience of failing an interview, not really being sure what to do with it, and then wanting some kind of guidance or wanting some kind of support community to help with that. Yeah, and then I reached out to you, and I kind of sorted that out. It's been a very seamless 6 months, I'd say. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, glad to hear that. But
Yeah.
yeah, seems like you had a stable full-time role, right, when you came to the
Yeah.
program. So why even bother? Why you decided to take an action and
Yeah.
grow in your career?
Yeah, that's a great. I've been asked that in almost every interview I've gone to, that everyone's just like, you have a job. Why do you want to leave your job? And um, originally I kept saying, I don't know, just I'm looking, I'm exploring, I'm just trying to see what's going on. But the farther I went, the more I realized I was starting to stagnate at my job, at my full-time role. And it was becoming uncomfortably easy to do what I was doing. Like not easy necessarily. Like it was still a complicated role, but there wasn't much to grow or learn. There weren't many people around me pushing me to take on responsibility that I wanted to take on. And so it almost felt like the longer I stayed, the more time I would just waste in my career. So I made the choice to say, let me take control of my next step. And that aligns a lot with kind of the soft skill slash market related things you talk about, where if you want to stay relevant, if you want to stay up to date, you can't rely on your employer and the projects your employer gives. You really have to take it on yourself and see what are your interests, where do you fit in. So um, yeah, that's really what I started focusing on more. What do I like? What do I want to do? Where does it make sense to go next? What projects do I want to work on? What kinds of teams do I want to work on? Things like that. So that really started getting me, I don't know, excited. So the old role started feeling very boring. Um, and yeah, now I'm here, which is, yeah, I don't know what to expect, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. So yeah, but apart from like stagnating in skills or feeling
Yeah.
it boring, the other part, which is like, have you tried to get a promotion in this role in terms of like increasing your title from mid to senior, taking more
Right.
responsibilities, or getting an increase in salary?
Yeah, the previous role, it was almost impossible. They really didn't want to push for that. It was weird. They had room for it, but it's almost like they were very slow with promoting or trusting that you could take on the role. They would rather hire externally. And so that always that was felt wrong. It's like, I've worked for you for so long, you can trust me now, you can push me up. And so ultimately that became their issue, is that they had a willing candidate, somebody that could take on the responsibility, but they didn't give them the attention. It wasn't just me, there were other people too. And they did give them the attention, and so there was more churn, and we started leaving. But it's hard. Like, that's the one thing I've learned, is pushing internally can be very difficult, versus looking outside, looking for another environment to go to. And the nice thing is it's twice as good, because usually you get a nice bump and you get to learn something new. You get to learn a new project, new tools, new people. So yeah.
Also comes down to the company, right? Because
Yeah,
sometimes
their
it doesn't
appetite.
make sense to push there. But overall, like, how long have you been a developer at this point, where you
Yeah.
were working at mid-level there?
Yeah, mid-level, I was working with them for about 2.5 years now. But overall, I've been kind of in software dev for 6 years, just about. And they really, they only really recognized me about two and a half years ago. That was mid-level. So it's been a long time just sitting in one spot, yeah, it can get stale fast when that happens. Yeah, not much to do, not not much room to move around, basically, as a mid-level.
So 6 years sitting in that same level, and now what changed in the last 6 years, right? In the beginning,
Yeah.
and now what changed in the 6 months that got you to senior?
That is a very good question, because the biggest thing was the mindset shift, right? Just starting with seeing what is interesting, what are my gaps, where to really dig in. So the last 6 months have been that. Most of the 6 months have been interviewing. So like really figuring out how to speak to my skills, what I have learned in the last 6 years, experiences, projects delivered, speaking in a way where it's like authentic for me. That's something that I never practiced before. So the last 6 months have really been a big push on that, because as a mid-level, I think my technical skills I ironed out generally. I had a good feel for how to work in a software engineering environment. But the things you would do outside of that team, nobody teaches you that. No one really gives you that from a workplace. So yeah, I got to focus on that, and also diving a bit more into the newer AI technology, or the newer tools that we have, right? Some of that was very helpful with leveling up my skills. Just being able to want to build a project or do something, solve a problem, and work through it in a way that was more natural than focusing really hard on syntax, or the perfect algorithm or data structure. Yeah, the speed at which you can kind of do some of this work now makes it much easier to level up.
Also, one of your interviews was with AI skills, right? Mainly demonstrating this and how you work with AI.
Yeah, that's the job I have now. It's it was a very different interview. I haven't had an interview like that before, but they basically wanted you to build a POC in an hour using any AI tool that you wanted to use, like whatever works for you. It's a very different kind of team, right? They're not a traditional software delivery team. They are more of a business enablement team, where they want to train software delivery teams on how to use these tools. So they interview differently. But that was a very good experience, just being able to talk with somebody else, use the tool freely, work through a set of requirements, break it into technical specs, and then provide them to something like Claude or a Cursor, and start building a project out. It didn't have to be perfect. We just wanted to make sure it could spin up, it worked, and you could use it. and that was their way of testing my technical aptitude, like to see if I generally knew how software was built, if I knew how to break down requirements, being able to design the system, not a full infrastructure, but having that back and forth of like, what would you consider? What do you think is MVP? What's a fast follow? Things like that. And then they ended up hiring me as a senior. What do they call me? Senior forward deployed engineer, which is I don't know if it's a newer title, but it's basically like uh, they put you like with business teams directly, and they want you to build tooling for them. So very niche role. But yeah, never expected them to offer a senior title to begin with. So when they put it forward, I was like, great, cool. I was just interviewing for fun. I was just trying to see what I could get away with. And yeah, this was the result. Senior in the title and also a good bump in pay.
That's great. So apart from like senior now for the title,
Yeah.
what else is better compared to last role? Like whatever you're comfortable sharing in terms of, let's say, salary, how much is it increased from the last one?
Yeah, so the last place I was just over $100,000. I'm based in Canada, so Canadian, and with this, it's a 50% bump. So I'm base pay. I'm taking home 150, and standard benefits, a good bonus, 10 to 15%, and they perks of the role. I don't know if it's perks. Some people might like it, some might not. There's some travel involved, a lot of focus on education and learning, because the role kind of focuses on best practices, developing tooling. So they want me to stay as kind of on the edge of AI technology and tools. They want to send me to conferences, so they're paying me to stay up to date with today's tech industry. So huge perk in my opinion, versus somebody that's just saying, oh, here's a product, here's a new requirement, go build it out. And it's kind of a drain, right? You build it, you walk away, and you don't really see much return for yourself. So this is kind of the flip of that. Always staying up to date.
Yeah, of course. If like also employer is willing to invest in your skills, then it shows that they also value you staying up to date, right? Not only about their product that you're building.
Yeah.
So,
And this one definitely is they've also made it very clear that they value the work-life balance too. Like I don't know exactly how to put it, but every step of the way they've made it clear that they don't have exact rigid times because they're a global company. But at the same time, they want to make sure that you manage your time well, so you're not drained. You're not spending more than 8 hours in a given day working on something, or work as much as you need to get the job done, that kind of thing, without overdoing it. So very if I didn't start interviewing, I wouldn't know companies like this existed. It's nice to find somebody or a group of people that have that value, and they kind of show it up front. Anyway, yeah, a little extra information, I guess, but it was nice to find that.
how does it feel now that you just finalized this last role and then this new role is coming, right? And
Yeah.
How do you feel? How is it, the experience?
Yeah, no, I feel great, honestly. Other than the weather's just been awful, and I got sick right as I was leaving the old place. No, I feel great. I'm very excited to kind of get started with these folks. And part of that is also like I need to remember to go slow. Like things take time to ramp up. But very excited to just see what projects they're working on, what they're focused on doing, the people they're working with, because it's they acquire businesses, so there are many different domains, different projects to work on, and people in those areas to work with. So really looking forward to kind of building the soft skills and networking, like building more connections, building tooling or apps, exploring, basically being able to explore ways of building software that I haven't been able to before. There's so much more autonomy and freedom that, yeah, I get to explore, or like I get to really like try and play with. It's almost like I'll be, my full-time job is in a hackathon in a way, right? Like I'm always working on some kind of custom project short term that gets built out later by other engineers. So yeah, very, very looking forward to like that pace of work and that breadth of work, like the variety of work.
Very happy for you, especially that you landed this like around end of the 6th month, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, congrats on that. Now for the program, like what was your biggest takeaway from working together?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, I honestly, I almost threw in the towel 4 or 5 months in, just thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe it's not the right time, or I learned enough, I'll come back to this. But the reason I didn't do that, and this also like ties in with the best part of the program, is the one-on-one mentorship. Having somebody to talk to, we started weekly, but then it really became a whenever it was needed, we would chat. Just having somebody to hold you accountable, or have that accountability, and also give guidance on like, okay, this is a problem I'm facing. There were times where I wasn't sure what to focus on. I would bring it to you, and you would help me kind of break it down, or say, okay, this thing first. Let's do this thing first, and then we'll see. Whatever comes after that. The sheet, the just the simple spreadsheet of tracking interviews, or tracking who reached out, what stage, super helpful. Anything on the classroom, right? Any of the mindset training on the classroom, as well as all of the kind of real life interview recordings. Those are fantastic. Just being able to see, what is real, and tools to use as like something to go back to as a reference. Super helpful. Very worth the time and the effort and the money, and like it's a good package in that sense. The one thing I didn't really use much, just with my situation and timing, was the community. I wish I had engaged a little more, because there's some fantastic people working on projects and such. But I just never dipped my toes into that. And it's not that I didn't need it. I think it's really like everybody depends on what problem you come in with. You can find something or a set of things to help you meet your goal. For me, really, it was the interview prep and practice, and the one-on-one mentoring in the classroom like helped the most with that.
Now, what's something you didn't know before that changed things for you in terms of your career?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I knew this, but I'd never practiced it. It's it's exposing yourself, or like trying something one time, at least one time, right? Getting a feel for it. I think one of the first things you told me was let's try to get 100 connections on LinkedIn, and 70 applications, something like that, right? You said here's the target, try to meet it. And I was so overwhelmed. I was like, that's a lot, that's a lot to do. But just get started, whatever, like it's a thing to try and meet. It's something to do. You'll find a way to make it happen. So once that ball got rolling, what I learned very quickly was, if you ever just start building momentum, things will keep happening. So I got like an interview a week, just about, maybe sometimes two. There were times where I was like, okay, I don't want more people like reaching out. But I would still just get emails or messages. Even over like the winter break, I got a couple. And I would always say yes, right? I would always just like because we had that conversation before where you mentioned even if you don't really care about the company, it's practice. It's good practice. You get to talk to somebody, and that is the biggest like learning or new thing I'm taking away from the program is your best friend is being able to talk to somebody else, like being able to put yourself out there, have your face somewhere, have your name somewhere. People will like come to you usually in this industry. And then you just have to be willing to say yes and talk to them and like see where it goes from there. And that's honestly how I got this job too. I'm realizing like this person just reached out and I was like, you sound shady. This doesn't sound normal at all. It's also not really why are you trying to hire me when I have almost no experience in this? Because I at that time I didn't have the confidence or the understanding, right? I thought I was an imposter. But I got on a call, I talked to him, and yeah, very quickly learned how to see the value I bring to the table. That's another thing. It's like this program also helped show me what my value is. Because before it was basically whatever my manager would say yes to. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you're good at this, this, and that, but you need to improve in these things, right? But this way, I got to judge myself, and I can speak to myself a lot better than 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's great, and I hope that like you take that with you throughout your career, right? Because the next role should be always like better than this one, and the one after that should be better than the next one. Yeah. So yeah, and lastly, who do you think would benefit the most out of our program?
Yeah, honestly, I know you focus on mid-level developers, but I feel like the program is pretty broad. Like you could have somebody that's just starting out and learning and slowly build up. Mid-level, definitely mid-level to senior. Anybody that has a mindset where they want to learn and grow, they're willing to try. I think they will see the most benefit, regardless of kind of stage of career, because a lot of this program is based around you putting in the effort to meet a goal. You know, you set a goal up front and you try your best to meet that goal over the 6 months. And like you have all the tools and the things necessary to kind of help make it simpler, you know, to get to that goal. It was not an easy program. I'll put it very simply. Like there was a lot that I had to face that I was scared of facing before, speaking, you know, looking at myself and seeing what I had done, being able to see like, oh, I don't know this, you know, being able to say, oh, I don't know this, and going in and learning, you know, trying to apply it. So definitely it's most impactful for people that are willing to like go through that growth as fast. In a way, it's very fast paced because you're aggressive with the push on pace. Not saying that we went like extremely fast, but it was like a let's keep moving. Let's not fully stop ever. You know, let's try to do a little something every week to achieve something. You know, over the course of a few months. So past me would think 6 months is a long time, but now I look at it and I go, 6 months is not that long. It goes by very fast. And unless you're like doing something every week and you set yourself up every week, yeah, you alone you can get lost. You know, like you might not know what to do. So yeah, anybody willing to learn and grow and keep up, super helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is no silver bullet here. So of course you need to also put in the effort and time to achieve the result, right? And it's like for mid to seniors, so that's the focus of the program. But we also have senior developers. We have people who have like 30 years of experience, 10 years of experience, but they have knowledge gaps. So it's still beneficial for them as well to fill in those knowledge gaps. Yeah. So Congrats, Kaushal. I'm super happy for you. And yeah, looking forward to your growth in this new role and in the future as well.
Yeah, thanks for all the help. It's been a very good 6 months.